Hello, trumpet players. I want to tell you about another one of my books. This is an ongoing effort right now. We want to get videos about each one of the books, me telling you what they are, how they work, and stuff like that. Give you a little bit of information about each one. And really the purpose for these videos is so that I can put them on my website. And there's a page on my website called Books. And each of these videos is going to be embedded next to the image of the book. So really it's just an introduction to the book. Anyway, so this book, I think it's my third book, maybe the fourth book, somewhere around there. And it's called Go With the Flow. It's a book of 21 flow studies. And there was a time, a short period, when I was doing flow studies in my routine between the long tones and the lip slurs. Now today I've changed that because it used to be back then that the scales went at the end of the routine because the scales were sort of like just added. They weren't really part of the routine. But since you're doing a routine anyway, let's add the scales now, right? Well, I learned later, after doing for about 5 years, I was doing these flow studies between the long tones and the lip slurs, and I realized after about 5 years of that the scales could go there and serve that same purpose. So that's when I changed and started putting the scales, I call them the tonalization studies. I started putting the tonalization studies between those lip slurs and long tones. And if you look at the two books, the Daily Routines book has the scales at the end of the book. The Chops Express have them between the long tones and the lip slurs. Okay? Well, what I discovered, if you understand how I do exercises and how I do the routine, I want to use my whole range, but I don't want to use more than my whole range. So I was having difficulty at that time. I had a lot of, not only did I have the Chickwitz book, you know, a lot of people think that the da-da-da-dee-dee-da-dum, they think they refer to that as a flow study, and you can call it a flow study. But if you look at the book, the rest of it's etudes. So typically, when we say flow study, we're really talking about etudes. And not only did I have that, but I also went through all my other etude books, and I have a lot. And I pulled out etudes that were, you know, consistent with the whole flow study concept. And since I'm on that, let's talk about what a flow study is, because maybe some of you who are watching this don't know what a flow study is. It used to be called a moving long tone. Basically, the air that you deliver for a flow study is the same air you would deliver for just a sustained long tone, except that your fingers are moving and you're slurring up and down. Usually most flow studies are going to be slurred, and most of the intervals are going to be stepwise. For example, one of the flow studies in the Chickwitz book, it goes like this. You hear that? So it's a beautiful stepwise ascension, and then there's just a third interval at the top. And that's a beautiful, I actually learned that one long before I bought the Chickwitz book. I took a lesson with Luther Didrikson, who was sort of like the other teacher at Northwestern where Chickwitz was teaching. I took a lesson with Luther Didrikson. He gave me that as a sort of an assignment. So I was playing that etude, that flow study, long before I ever bought the book. That was in 1987, I believe. So, so yeah, this book, the Go With the Flow book, is etudes, flow study etudes that match the range for each one of the 7 levels that I have in my routine books. As I've said before, and maybe you haven't heard me say this yet, but I have on some of the other videos, I don't like just writing books. If I write a book, it's because what I'm looking for is not there. I have not found specific. So I was looking for etudes that had specific lengths, specific keys, specific range. I was looking for those three categories, and it was very difficult to find in all of the books I had 21 etudes that fit those very specific needs, those very specific parameters. So I ended up just writing a book myself, and I practiced out of that book. You know what's kind of cool about this? So you don't have to use my routine. You don't have to use the physical trumpet pyramid structure to get benefit out of these go with the flow study etudes. They actually work very well just as a warm-up in and of themselves. It wasn't me who started that. One of my buddies here in Houston, he was one of the first guys who ever bought my book, and he told me that he was using it to warm up. And this was Daryl Bear. And he would start at because it's in order. The range increases and the length of the etudes increase. The keys go in order of flats and sharps. You know, one flat, one sharp, two flats, two sharps, like that. And it's a wonderful warm-up. When he told me that, I said, well, let me try that, right? And I did that routine, those etudes as a routine for a couple months. It was beautiful. I enjoyed it. Now, imagine that, because they're all musical compositions. Imagine your warm-up being all musical. So that was very nice. And he wasn't the only one that did that either. So yeah, a lot of people like the book, the Go With The Flow book. Let's take a listen to one of them. I'm gonna play one and record it, and we'll put it right here. So you hear that? That's a real piece of music, and it's interesting. And I used to do this, different etudes like this all the time. Back in the 90s. I don't do them so much anymore because I kind of replaced that with the tonalization studies. But they're still nice etudes. I don't think we sell as many of these books as we used to, and that's sort of the reason why we're doing these videos. The books that I wrote long ago are still just as valid as they ever used to be, but they kind of got lost in the shuffle. This is a very nice book. People used to buy it quite often, and then with the other stuff I've published, it's kind of gotten pushed back out of view. So that's really, we're trying to reawaken everybody to all of the books now, and that way we can get people more interested in the whole system. It really is. Almost everything that I do in the publishing is part of a grand system. And the more people look at the big picture of the books that I've written for trumpet, the more valuable those books will be. So that's really why we're doing this. Anyway, now you get the idea. This is 21 different flow study etudes, starting from absolute beginner and ending on insane. Okay? Those last etudes they're challenging physically, they're challenging technically, and musically. So if that's something you would be interested in, I'll have the links below, and you can get it at a number of different places. So anyway, there you go. That's the Go With The Flow book, 21 flow study etudes at 7 different levels. Well, thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next video. God bless you.